Can my Plecos eat vegetables? For the most part, yes, you can feed your Plecos vegetables. There are a few things you need to watch out for so you don't hurt them, though. First, I would feed your Plecos organic or at very least vegetables that have been washed extremely well. This will help stop them from being poisoned by pesticides that were used on the vegetables while they were growing. Also, depending on the type of Pleco you have, they may be a carnivore, omnivore, or vegetarian. The trick is finding out which your Pleco is, and if they're an omnivore or vegetarian, vegetables will be a great treat or meal for them. Do I need to prepare or blanch the vegetables for my Plecos? I don't like blanching vegetables or preparing them in any way besides cutting them, because anytime you alter vegetables, they lose nutritional value, making them less beneficial for your Plecos. Second, I'm pretty lazy when it comes to fish keeping. I'm not going to skip around it, so any extra steps to feed them I find completely unnecessary, and I've never had any of my Plecos struggle to eat raw vegetables. Third, I don't blanch them because it makes them break down in the water faster, messing with my water parameters, which means extra water changes, which are my least favorite thing to do with my fish. Can I feed my Plecos squash? Yes, feeding your Plecos squash is a great food for them. I would even say that it's probably the most common vegetable to feed Plecos. My preferred type of squash is zucchini. It's cheap and available year-round due to its ease of growth. Because zucchini often grows like a weed, it isn't uncommon during the summer for my neighbors to leave it on my doorstep or in my unlocked car. I don't mind because it's free food for my fish and is great in any stir-fry. After that, I like using yellow squash, similar to the zucchini, but a little more gourd-like and has a thicker skin. I like to cut zucchini or yellow squash in about quarter-thick inch discs and use feeder clips to hang it on the side of the tank. I like this method because it forces my Plecos to come out of their caves where I can see them for a short time. The most common way to prepare it is to cut the squash long ways and weigh it down with something. Most people use a fork. My wife disapproves of this and me stealing her silverware, so it really isn't a great option for me. Most people also blanch their squash, but I usually just feed it raw. I find most of my Plecos have no problem demolishing all the squash I give them during the night. Can I feed my Plecos cucumbers? Yes, cucumbers are similar to squash, so you can feed them to your Plecos. Since cucumbers have a similar shape and density to squash, they can be prepared and given to your Plecos exactly the same way. Personally, I go with squash because it seems more dense. Cucumbers tend to be a bit more watery from my experience, which in my mind translates to less nutritious value, but even though it's probably just as nutritious as squash, I usually don't feed it with my Plecos. Can I feed bell peppers to my Plecos? Yes, you can, and I would say the next most popular vegetable to feed your Plecos is bell peppers. It's also available in most places year-round. While it's not as cheap as squash, it's fairly affordable. Bell peppers are a great vegetable to feed, especially when you have multiple Plecos in the tank. The natural way to cut a bell pepper gives it a large surface area, which allows Plecos to feed together with less threat from one another. Another benefit is bell peppers usually sink when in water, so you don't have to use any tool or accessories to make them stay in the water. Can I feed my Plecos mushrooms? Surprisingly, yes, you can feed your Plecos mushrooms. Now, I rarely give my fish mushrooms because I love eating them, and they rarely make it in a day or two in my refrigerator. Some people will argue that mushrooms are not a vegetable, but that mushrooms are a fungi, one of them being my wife, but that's beside the point. It's fun to watch Plecos down a mushroom in record time. This is a veggie I would never suggest being blanched. It's already quite soft and gets slimy after any cooking. One fun thing I've seen done is to make mushroom shish kebabs and hold them down using for multiple surface areas for feeding. So while you prepare for your next barbecue, make a little veggie shish kebab for your Plecos too. Can I feed carrots to my Plecos? Yes, you can, but it's not one I feed very often. I just don't see them eat very much of a carrot when it's in the tank. Now, for most Plecos, the carrot is too dense and hard for them to really eat, but any Pleco that has wood as a main part of their diet will have no problem munching it down, and it can be a great way to add variety to their diet. Can I feed asparagus to my Plecos? While you definitely can feed your Plecos asparagus, I wouldn't. It's generally is liked by most Plecos. I just haven't seen it offered to. I don't know why, but maybe it's because it's really woody vegetable and isn't easy to digest, or it's because asparagus give off a strange smell. Who knows? This is one vegetable, though, that I would always blanch before feeding just to make it easier for your Plecos to eat. Helpful tools for feeding your Plecos vegetables. There are some other tools or equipment to hold your veggies down. There's one called the screw cucumber. It's a piece of twisted stainless metal that makes it easy to twist your veggies on to it while making veggies sink. Or there are veggie clips that you can use to hold vegetables in place for easier consumption. It also keeps the vegetables off the ground and closer to the top of the tank, so it's easier to remove old vegetables from your tank later. Regardless if you are feeding your Plecos vegetables for a snack or a staple in their diet, Plecos will love you for it.